So we're here. We've invited the ULI panel to come talk to us about the issue of developing criteria for road elevation. There we go. And so flooding has been a theme throughout the city of Fort Lauderdale in 2023, between having some significant extreme rainfall events and having 180 high tides this year that exceeded the threshold for flooding. This has truly been a year that highlights our challenges related to flooding concerns. And as part of that, the city has introduced a program called Fortify Lauderdale, which the goal is really to accelerate the work that we've been doing on stormwater issues and improve resiliency to the impacts of climate change, especially in our most vulnerable neighborhoods and communities. And as a result of this, we're currently working through a vulnerability assessment to sea level rise. We have invited the ULI panel here to give us some advice on setting criteria for road elevation. And we've announced that we are accelerating our current stormwater program with investments of $250 million to be completed in about a 3-year time frame, which is faster than we initially expected to get it done, and investing about another $500 million in 17 additional neighborhoods over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So we are moving forward with both these efforts not in parallel. So we've already started the design work associated with these 17 additional neighborhoods, in addition to the 8 that we're currently working on for design and construction. So when you're talking about engineering solutions for roadways that become inundated, either through tidal flooding and to a lesser degree from rainfall events, you have a series of options as you move forward. You start with tidal valves. If tidal valves are not enough to resolve the issue, you look at seawalls. If seawalls don't resolve the issue, you look at stormwater improvements. If stormwater improvements don't get you everywhere you need to go, we start looking at pumping systems. And if pumping systems don't get you there, then we start a conversation about road elevation, which is why we're here today. So one of the things I want people to understand is that road elevation is not about putting down more asphalt. There are lots and lots of underground infrastructure that's associated with a roadway. You have storm drains, you've got underground pipes, you've got water infrastructure, you've got wastewater infrastructure, fire hydrants, meter boxes. In addition to that, you've got all the non-municipal utilities as well, FPL, TECO, AT&T, Comcast. And so when you start thinking about elevating a road, you have to think about elevating either the access to all of those other things, or you actually have to re-engineer how those other things work. If you elevate the road, you have to change your stormwater system. So a little something about thinking about the complexities, but that's not the only thing you have to think about, because when you elevate a road, you suddenly create a disconnection between the roadway and the private properties. And when you do that, for example, if we elevate the road by a foot, suddenly now the road is a foot above your driveway. The road is now a foot above your walkway. Your lawn is a foot below the edge of the roadway, and your lawn is a foot below. So as we start thinking about making these public investments, it also has an impact on the private side. And the term for this is harmonization. How do you get the road to start working with the private property again? And who takes on those costs? Because generally speaking, we do not use public dollars on private property. And so with that, I want you to understand what we've asked this panel to do. We've asked them to outline a set of recommendations that relate to a criteria that we can base a policy on for to equitably guide the selection of city-owned roadways for elevations. And in order to do that, we've asked them to look at developing a set of criteria to prioritize which roads should be elevated. And again, they're not talking about projects. They're talking about road types, number of properties impacted, frequency of flooding. At the end of this, they're going to give us the criteria. They're not going to say Main Street should go first, Second Street should go second. what they're going to say is use these criteria to prioritize the various roads that are subject to this type of flooding. They're going to consider how much the road should be raised. Should it be raised 6 inches? Should it be raised 18 inches? And they're going to clarify expectations on the issue of transitions between the public infrastructure and the private infrastructure, this idea of harmonization. And finally, they're going to make recommendations on how to pay for the public infrastructure versus the private infrastructure improvements. So they have a lot to do in the next 2 days, and we spent an intense day talking about the issues. And so with that, Lauren, I'm handing it back over to Lauren.